In the shadowed fringes of an ancient Roman forest, under the oppressive canopy where moonlight barely pierced the thorns, a woman named Livia clutched her dagger, her breaths shallow and ragged as she stalked through the undergrowth. It was the year 25 AD, in the rugged hills outside a bustling provincial city, in what we'd now call southern Italy, back when emperors ruled and gods whispered curses from marble temples. Livia, once a revered healer in her village, now branded a witch by fearful tongues, wasn't hunting game tonight. No, she was pursuing a rare night-blooming herb, whispered in old scrolls to bind curses and shield the innocent. But the forest stirred with malice. Low growls echoed from unseen throats, and a chill wind carried the faint wail of lost souls. Her heart raced, danger lurked, drawn by the curse on her daughter, pulling horrors from the ether like moths to flame. What if the one person you die for became the monster everyone feared? Lean in closer. Feel that knot of dread twisting in your gut, because this tale from 2 millennia ago isn't just legend, it's a gut-wrenching echo of survival that still haunts quiet nights. Livia's daughter, young Arya, a teenager of 15 with eyes like storm clouds, had been marked since birth. According to ancient Greek myths that bled into Roman lore, such curses mirrored the tragedy of Lamia, a queen turned child devourer by divine jealousy. But Livia's story twisted that old sorrow. Arya wasn't the predator, she was the prey, afflicted by a shadowy entity that possessed her under the full moon, forcing her to lure innocence into the dark. Livia had sworn to protect her, no matter the cost, scavenging forbidden remedies while evading the Empire's watchful priests. As Livia knelt to pluck the silvery vervain, an herb said in pagan texts to repel spirits, much like those later chronicled in medieval grimoires, she heard the snap of twigs behind her. Whirling, she faced a shimmering apparition, a ghost of a young boy, translucent and hollow-eyed, his form rippling like water. "Mother?" it whispered, voice echoing Arya's childhood pleas, but Livia knew better. This was a haunted soul, one of the curse's tricks summoned by Arya's affliction to test her resolve. She slashed her dagger through it, the blade passing harmlessly, but the ghost recoiled with a scream that split the night, alerting whatever else hid in the gloom. Panic surged. She had to return to their hidden cave dwelling before the entity fully awoke in Arya. Fleeing back through the tangled paths, Livia burst into the cave, a damp hollow carved into the hillside, lit by a flickering oil lamp. Arya huddled there, chains of woven vines binding her wrists, a desperate measure to contain the curse. "Mama, it's coming!" Arya whimpered, her skin paling as shadows danced unnaturally on the walls. Livia crushed the vervain into a paste, mixing it with spring water blessed by a sympathetic village woman, murmuring incantations drawn from forbidden scrolls. But the ghost's cry had stirred more. Distant thunder rumbled, unnatural for the clear sky, heralding the first twist in their nightmare. A sudden storm erupted, winds howling through the cave mouth like vengeful spirits, rain lashing in sheets that extinguished the lamp. In the pitch black, Arya's eyes glowed faintly, the curse taking hold. "They're here for me," she gasped, her voice layering with an otherworldly hiss. Shadows detached from the walls, literal shadows, coiling like serpents, manifestations of the ancient grudge that birthed the curse. One lunged at Livia, its touch burning cold, sapping her strength. She fumbled for her pouch, flinging a handful of rue, another protective herb, potent against spectral assaults, and the shadow hissed back, buying precious seconds. But the storm intensified, thunder cracking overhead, shaking loose rocks that blocked part of the entrance. Trapped, Livia realized the curse wasn't just possessing Arya, it was calling kin, drawing haunted souls from the forest's buried past. Word of strange happenings had already reached the nearby city of Neapolis, where cobblestone streets buzzed with traders and temples loomed with statues of gods old and new. Early Christian converts mingled with pagan priests,
tensions simmering as Emperor Tiberius's rule clamped down on sorcery. Bishop Marcellus, a stern figure sent from Rome to root out heresies, had heard whispers of a cursed girl luring children from the outskirts. "The devil's handiwork," he declared in the temple square, clutching a wooden cross carved from olive wood, a symbol gaining power among the faithful. Flanked by Father Lucius, a local priest with a kind but weary face, and Sister Clara, a devout holy woman akin to later nuns, they rallied a group of men and teenagers from the city. "We hunt not the innocent, but the darkness that claims them," Marcellus intoned, distributing vials of holy water drawn from sacred springs and rosary-like beads strung with prayers. Imagine the fire in their eyes, that unyielding conviction born from fear. Would you join them, torch in hand, or question if the real monster was the hunt itself? This sense of collective resolve, like villagers against the unknown, propelled them into the forest that very night, torches cutting swaths through the storm. Livia, sensing their approach through some maternal instinct amplified by her herbs, unchained Arya just as the girl's possession peaked. "Fight it, my love." Livia pressed a cross, smuggled from a convert friend, into Arya's palm. The girl convulsed, shadows swirling around her, but the symbol seared the darkness, granting a momentary reprieve. The group's arrival crashed like the thunder, boots pounding, shouts piercing the gale. "There, the witch and her spawn!" a teenager yelled, spotting the cave. Livia barred the entrance, dagger raised, but the shadows attacked anew, the second conflict unfolding in chaos. A ghost materialized, a woman's spirit wailing accusations of stolen children, her form twisting into grotesque shapes. It assaulted Father Lucius, clawing ethereal fingers into his chest, drawing agonized cries. The priest splashed holy water, the liquid steaming on contact, banishing the ghost, but leaving him weakened. The storm's fury masked screams from deeper in the forest, cries for help that mimicked lost souls, luring two men astray into quicksand pits hidden by rain. Marcellus pressed on, his cross held aloft, chanting exorcisms that echoed through the deluge. They breached the cave, confronting Livia and Arya. "Surrender the child to purification," he demanded. But Arya, half-possessed, unleashed a wave of shadows that engulfed a teenager, his screams turning to gurgles as the darkness drained his vitality. Livia countered with group tactics she'd learned from outlaw healers, forming a protective circle around Arya, burning herbs in a brazier to create a barrier of scented smoke. The reciprocity of survival kicked in. Sister Clara, moved by Livia's fierce maternal bond, hesitated, whispering, "This curse, it's ancient, like the tales of Lamia, where grief twists into horror." Her doubts spread, fracturing the hunters' unity. As the storm raged, the third twist struck. Thunder boomed, illuminating a horde of haunted souls rising from the flooded ground. Ghosts of children devoured by similar curses through the ages, their tiny forms charging with unearthly speed. They swarmed the group, cries piercing like daggers, forcing a desperate retreat into the cave's depths. Livia, seizing the moment, allied uneasily with the intruders. "Join me or perish," she hissed to Marcellus. "Protect her, and we banish them all." The bishop, seeing the purity in her desperation, nodded, a rare alliance forged in terror, scarcity of options binding them.
Deeper in the cave, tunnels twisted like veins, leading to an ancient underground temple, forgotten ruins of a pre-Roman cult where curses like Arya's were born. Walls etched with faded frescoes depicted a queen, Lamia herself, mourning her lost offspring, her form morphing into a beast. Here, the curse's source manifested, a colossal shadow entity, the embodiment of Hera's wrath, swelling to fill the chamber. It roared, summoning spirits that attacked in waves, ghosts clawing, souls draining life with touches colder than death. The climax ignited in a frenzy of life or death struggle. Arya, fully possessed now, turned on Livia, her hands elongating into claws, eyes black voids. "You can't save me, Mother," the entity snarled through her lips. Shadows enveloped the group, pinning men against walls, suffocating teenagers with inky tendrils. Marcellus thrust his cross forward, holy water arcing like arrows, but the entity absorbed it, growing stronger. Father Lucius fell, a ghost's embrace stopping his heart, his final words a prayer that ignited the herbs scattered on the floor. Livia, drawing on every ounce of her knowledge, orchestrated a group hunt within the confined space. "Circle it, use the symbols," she commanded, wrapping rosary beads around Arya's neck, while Sister Clara and the survivors formed a ring, chanting in unison. The entity lashed out, its form coalescing into a serpentine beast, striking at Livia with fangs that grazed her arm, poison burning through her veins. In agony, she plunged into the fray, smearing herb paste on the cross and stabbing it into the shadow's core. Thunder from the storm above shook the temple, cracks spiderwebbing the ceiling as rocks tumbled. Arya screamed, a dual cry of torment and release as the entity recoiled. The group pressed, torches singeing its edges, holy water hissing like acid. In a desperate surge, Livia embraced her daughter, whispering, "I love you enough to let go if I must." The maternal bond, amplified by the herbs and faith, fractured the curse. The entity howled, splintering into mist, banishing the ghosts and souls in a whirlwind of light piercing through the collapsing roof. As dawn's first rays filtered in, the storm abated, the cave stabilizing. Arya collapsed into Livia's arms, the glow fading from her eyes, the curse shattered. Marcellus, bloodied but alive, knelt in prayer, acknowledging the witch's valor. "Not all darkness is evil," he murmured, a transformation dawning in his hardened heart. The survivors emerged into the forest, carrying their fallen, the city ahead bathed in soft light. Savor that quiet aftermath, the deep exhale after the storm where survival blooms into serenity. Livia and Arya returned to the village not as outcasts, but guardians of a legend that warned of curses born from grief. The bishop sealed the temple, herbs and crosses marking its entrance forever. Peace settled over Neapolis, whispers of the night fading into myth. But in rare, moonlit moments, villagers swore they heard grateful sighs from freed souls, a reminder that protection, even against the gods' wrath, could rewrite fate.